Hello and welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery down here. I'm going to go over what worked and what didn't work in this last week, but I want to share a little bit of a story here about my COVID testing. So I don't know if you know, I every 3 months I go to Toronto to something called Strategic Coach, where I work on my business. I think it's good to get out of the practice, go kind of see other people, and we talk about other business things. This isn't specific to podiatry. It's just to help business. And basically you're there with a lot of other people and you go through different thinking skills. But the whole problem was with this coach is that I leave on a Wednesday all day. So I get there Tuesday night, I go out after patients Tuesday, and I was coming back Wednesday night. To go to Canada, I don't have to have a COVID test, a negative COVID test. But to come back to the States, I had to have one. And you had to do it within 24 hours. So it's kind of a challenge to do that. But I did find this cool thing. I want to share about this with you guys. This is called Illume. So it's about, 20 times more expensive than a regular COVID test, but it's cool because I did it during my lunch hour on Tuesday. And basically you do this little thing with an actual doctor or healthcare provider via your phone and a computer thing. The neat thing is you put your sample right in here, and then it actually connects wirelessly to your phone via Bluetooth. And you don't see the results, but they actually email you verified results. So I paid $20 for the test, and I paid $20 for this actual visit with the doctor. Now, the bad thing is I bought 2 of these, and you can't return. I don't know if you guys know this. You can't return COVID tests if you buy them. So I haven't stuck with this other one until I go to Canada next time. But I was able to get the negative test and use it when I came back in. I want to tell a little bit about this thing called Todoist. I always each week I'm going through something from my tech list. If you haven't downloaded, you can download it. Todoist is my favorite thing to remind me of. The main reason I use it is to remind me to do things sequentially. Like for example, I'm doing this thing here, and I have a little process for doing it. So let me actually just bring this in to show you how I do that. So for this Todoist, it's an app, and this is what I do. So I record Podiatry Practice Mastery show, update the podcast, and I think of a story next week. This is how I do it. And I record the show, upload the video to YouTube, upload it to the podcast, write an email, including a story, and then post other podcast episodes. So this is my workflow. And this appears every single week to me so I can check it off. But also, I want to give you an example. What I do with patients is I have this one here. This is their medical record number. See how they're doing. There's something that doesn't exist in my medical record. Basically, I want to check on how this patient is doing, but there's no way for me to remember that. And so I send it to myself, like, see how they're doing in 2 weeks. So if I want to put in 2 weeks right here, in 2 weeks, it'll actually show back up in this list in 2 weeks. The reason it showed up today is because today was the time that I've called them. So what I do is in my medical record, I send it to my staff, and I have them I have my staff help me with that. Okay. They actually call the patient. So that's the main thing. I use it for patients, but I can use it for other things as well. Different ideas I have. And the cool thing is it's right up here in my browser. So when I'm with a patient, if I have an idea I want to add to one of my lists, I can add it right here. It does a lot of other things, but that's the basics of how I use that Todoist. Okay. I am putting together a master class on ultrasound. Now, if you guys have been listening to me for any time, I do not claim to be a super duper master. I use it a lot, and I think I could help some other people with it and give you specifically some practice management ideas. I'm not going to go over the technical aspects, but a lot of doctors wanting to do more, and they want to learn how to do more. So I'm starting my slides. And what my ask is for you, if you do ultrasound, please click reply and send me some of your best tips. That's what I want. So I'm including some of my best tips on it, like blocking your time, pre-framing your patients. And I'm going to talk a little bit about money, how much I've produced and things like that over the last year. It's been about $1,000 a month with ultrasounds in our office. So you might be 2 or 3 times that, but that's what's working for me. So we're going to talk about that. If you have thoughts, send it to me. And then I'm going to be scheduling an ultrasound masterclass that you guys can be part of, as I've had these other masterclasses before in the past. This last week, I did do a couple of interviews, but only one is showing up so far. It's an interview with Pete Moore. Pete's kind of a unique guy. I would listen to the interview. He's a smart guy. He's a coach, but he also owns 2 shoe stores. So kind of a cool thing that we're talking about business, but also about kind of marketing ideas for shoe stores. And whenever I talk to someone that's kind of an entrepreneur, they give me some other information. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Floxy, Riverside, and Notability. So let me just talk about those quick, then I'll come back. So this is his podcast. It's called Simplifying Entrepreneurship. He's got this assessment you can take. If you want to listen to the video, he talks about it. Very cool guy. And this is his workflow for all of his podcasts and videos. It's called Floxy. So it's about $500 a month. But what it is they do all of like your project design. So if you need to design things, copywriting, video, illustrations, voiceovers, they do all of this on a monthly basis. So for example, you could try it for 1 month and they could do a lot of like video work and things like that. Or if you consistently need that work, they can do that for you. Kind of a neat idea. It's SaaS. So a service as a subscription, that's how these are. This is Floxy. Another one he told me about is Notability. I don't use an iPad, but he does everything on the iPad and he does all of his notes. So he writes things on the iPad, and then he sends it to Floxy, and they'll make different like worksheets for his customers and things. And we also talked about Riverside, which is a way of doing a podcast with others. I use Zoom, but I guess the quality is a lot better with Riverside. So I am familiar with that as well. So that's something that he taught me about, but I'll put the link to the podcast. I would certainly appreciate it if you watched it and then also gave a like on iTunes or one of the other ones. This last week, I did have an encounter at Strategic Coach. I want to tell you about my 2 big takeaways. So I go there and we talk about things. And if I can get 1 or 2 things that I want to implement, it's a really good coaching session. One of the sessions was I was talking to a lot of people, and what they do is they actually fill out, they pull up Google Slides. So let me give you guys an example. So when I treat patients, for example, I treat them for Achilles tendonitis, and it pulls up this slide deck. And I go through this slide deck with my patients. This is what I call patient presentations. So it's a slide deck, has typical questions, and then it goes over kind of how I treat Achilles tendonitis in my checklist. My takeaway from them is that what a lot of these other people do is when they're doing a slideshow, they actually make a copy of it, and they actually fill in the information with the patient. So for example, I could click this, and I could put a little, when I talk about what they're going to do, I could put a little checkbox in there or something like that. And then I could give them a copy of this, or I could fill out when I'm asking them these questions, how long have you had symptoms? I could put a little box in here where I could fill in how long they've had symptoms. I could fill in what treatments they've tried. Now, to me, this seems like doubling the work because I'm already putting this in my notes. So I'm trying to think of a more of an elegant way of doing that. But what I like about it is then I could give them a copy of these slides, and every time they come back, I could add other slides to it. It's a little still a little complex, but I think it's something that would work. The other idea I have from Strategic Coach was I've been doing webinars during this whole pandemic. And I was talking to someone actually right before I went to Strategic Coach about starting to do lectures in the office. And I always think, what's the difference between a webinar and a lecture? And the main difference is if you've, I don't know, for us, for example, we were in doing a lot of things via Zoom, right? So we were doing church via Zoom, and now we're doing it in person. It's like 100 billion times better in person. And it's the same thing with doing a lecture. I can do a lecture on Zoom, but it's going to be 100 billion times better to do it in person. I know that's a big number, but that's my thought now is the same way I'm doing these webinars, I'm going to start offering them in person in the clinic. Now, my clinic isn't huge. I can probably only have 15 or 20 people here, but the focus then is going to be on using Facebook ads, Google ads to get brand new patients in. Okay, that's the whole thought, or even reactivating the patients that we have, doing these live, and then having a staff being able to set those up. So those are the big takeaways that I'm going to try to do in these in-office lectures. What didn't work and what I still need help with is it's still too complex doing my videos. And that's why I'm thinking about using this Floxy. But what I really want is I want to record a video and then have someone else do all the writing within YouTube, adding in all the keywords, tags, and then publishing it and doing all the behind the scenes. So if you guys have a great process, please let me know about that. Okay. So once again, tell me about that process. Tell me about what works for you if you're using ultrasound. Just some of your best tips, and I will include them in the next master class. Okay. Once again, until next week, hope you guys found this beneficial, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.